Well, hello everybody, I'm Garrett. You're watching 11 Bang Bang. Now the quality on this video might not be what you're used to seeing on this channel because this is kind of an impromptu video. We were actually doing a little bit of work on this Remington contract rifle and we got it running and we happened to have the GoPro, so we decided we would make a video on it. So, without further ado, this is the 1863 Remington contract or Zouave Rifle. Let's talk about it just a little bit. All right, as he's panning this so you get a view of it, you can see we have a patch box here. By the way, this particular replica is made by Replica Arms. I don't know, it's probably made in the 70s. This is not a very well put together replica, but we've been working on it for the last several years, finally got it going. Now, the thing that's interesting about the 1863 contract rifle is that as far as I can tell, this is the last official muzzle-loading weapon adopted by the United States military. They adopted it during the Civil War. During the Civil War, you had, of course, your main spring-filled muskets that most of the Union Army was using. You had your infield muskets that a few of the Union were using, mostly used by Confederates. And you had people like Colt making their own muskets, and everybody's just cranking out as many long arm as they can. This was Remington's contribution to that. Now, the thing is, they made somewhere between, from what I can understand, between 10 and 12,000 of these things. The issue is, a lot of people don't know if they were ever actually used during the war. A lot of people claim they just sat in a warehouse. Some people say that in such a war of attrition, there's no way they just sat in a warehouse, but one way or the other, right after the war, these were surplused out, and they went west, and they went south, and they went all over the country. As a matter of fact, one of the documents that I read claimed that a company down in Florida bought a bunch of these from the government and were using them to shoot alligators. And they were selling alligator meat and they were, alligator skin and whatnot. And this was evidently a really good alligator gun. They cut them down, put them in canoes, and used them for that. Now, this is a 58 caliber, and it does shoot a mini ball, and we have some made up here. This particular gun, like I said, it does not, like I said, this particular gun has had some major issues. It doesn't have the spring in the leaf sights. As you can see there, we got a what I believe to be a 100-yard sight, and then an increasing sight there. I can't get that to work quite right, but that goes down, that comes up, and then you have a long range sight there. No spring in it like should be. We bought this for not very much money. Like I said, this is Replica Arms. Probably, I believe somebody said that these are made in Korea. I wouldn't swear to that. But as you can see, we do have a nice engraved eagle there. Nothing other than the Replica Arms number here and a serial number. And it's all around pretty good looking gun. Still has the bayonet lug. This is a new loading ramrod we put in it. But when we first bought this gun, probably 6-7 years ago, first few shots Ethan took with it, and he owned it at the time, broke the mainspring. And he couldn't find a mainspring, Finally, I found a mainspring, put it in there, and the lock worked, but the trouble was the geometry of the gun was off. Whoever made this replica did not do a good enough job with what I thought at the time was an inletting issue. The hammer was hitting, the side of the hammer there was hitting right in the middle of the nipple. And so it very rarely set the cap off. So I inletted this lock as far as I could physically inlet it before running out of screw thread and running into some real problems with the hammer hitting the stock. What the problem turned out to be was the hammer was almost perfectly straight up and down. So after some frustration, as you can see, we got tired of it one day and we just took a torch and heated that up and bent the top of the hammer over with a torch, and after that it seemed to work pretty good. Now, we do have this gun. If you buy one of these, usually they will be set up to take 4-wing musket caps, and the shoots and caps work really well in this, but all I have here today is the CCI reenactor caps. They're not very hot, so every now and then you'll get a failure to fire. But anyway, without further ado, let's load this bad boy up and take some shots. Now, normally this would be done with paper cartridges, but I do not have paper cartridges with me. Actually, like I said, this is an impromptu video. I'm actually set up today to shoot some flintlock stuff. So I do have my 110 grain antler measure here. So we're gonna shoot it with a 110 grain charge. big powder. What we're using here is, this is 2F Schutzen. And so, did I say Schutzen? 2F Swiss, I'm sorry. We'll pour all that 110 grain charge right down the bore. And since this is a mini ball, don't have to mess with patches. That was the one thing that really made this gun pretty awesome. And these mini balls, by the way, are lubed up with beef fat from some animals we have killed in the past. And we'll put that right back where it belongs, hopefully. Sometimes I have a little bit of trouble with this new ramrod. Okay, so do all that. By the way, wasn't that so much faster than loading, say, if you go back and watch some of our flintlock videos, you'll see how much faster that mini ball was to load than even a regular paper cartridge. And if you want to find out about 58 caliber paper cartridges, go over there and check out Plowboy's Ghost channel. He has some older videos on making the Confederate 58 caliber. All right, I'm all the way down here. Let's go out to the Ghost of Cowboy Bob. We're gonna hit him with a big 58 caliber piece of lead and 110 grains. As you can see, that puts the wallop on him. I can just imagine what that would do to an alligator. All right, without further ado, let's take another shot. All right, here we go again. Another 110 grain charge. And if what's interesting is, with this being the last muzzle loading rifle, as far as I know, somebody probably can say we'll find something else, but as far as I know, the last muzzle loading military rifle in the United States, we now have the first and the last. Whether you consider the 1777 Charleville to be the first, which it was, we used it, but it wasn't necessarily something our government made for us. The 1795 Springfield was the first, but we have videos on both of those. So after making this video, we will have a video out on the first and the last of the muzzle loaders. This is really the end of an era, and what you see me doing here, guys, I'm setting the cap. All right.
Bring that far gone.
Far gone, there you go. All right, let's see if I can do it. And I flinched. Like I said, sometimes these reenactor caps are not hot enough to do what you want to do. And sometimes you can fix that by just pouring. Here, I'll show you a little trick here if I can get this back off. Hold that, Caleb. Just take you a little bit of your priming powder. This is 4F for my flintlock. I don't usually carry it for these guns. We'll put her in the cap there. And then we will just take the cap and work that down with the 4F in it. And now we should have a fairly hot cap. Probably. A lot of people talk about, I'm gonna go off on a little tangent here, left-handed shooting on a flintlock, how it'll burn your hand. What I found is flintlocks don't burn your hand, your forearm near as bad as cap locks do. Because on a flintlock, there's a pan there, and almost all of that flame goes up. On a cap lock, when that hammer hits, it sprays caps and stuff right down on your wrist if you're shooting left-handed. All right, 30-yard jump. That was fast. I hit a little high, didn't I? That burned me just a little bit. See, guys, that's what a cap lock can do. After we finally got this gun to run, like I said, we've had it, what, 7 years, 8 years now. Finally getting it to run, it's a lot of fun. It's a big boomer, I'll tell you that much. Set that cap. Let's go out here to this little square plate. Yeah! What I can tell is, from this range, she's shooting a little high. Let's go take a look at that target right quick. All right, guys, these are just old railroad plates, and generally we don't shoot them with anything other than cap and ball revolvers or dead soft lead, because they aren't steel, they're just iron. And as you can see, hit a little high there. That was at about 20 yards. That mini bullet was actually cast out of wheel weights, so it was actually hard lead. You can do that with a gun like that, and it actually helps a little bit with the fouling. And because you're not trying to cut a ring of lead or anything like you would with a cap and ball revolver, where you have to use dead soft lead, I'm telling you right now, 110 grains with that thing. That is moving on because it took a chunk right out of the top of that big piece of iron. Let's go over here and
Let's see what Cowboy Bob, poor Cowboy Bob. You can already tell from here it's not good.
Like I said, guys, we don't shoot these things with modern ammunition or high-powered rifles. These are just for dead soft lead usually.
Here's a 50.
That is a 50 caliber out of a Hawken mini ball, Lee real bullet. That is the 58 caliber that we just shot with 110 grains. Man, that really puts a thumping on things. Anyway, let's shoot some more. All right, guys, we're gonna load her up again. I made a little error there, blunder, and I accidentally spilt about 10 grains of powder out of that, maybe a little more. So this is probably a 100 grain charge. Big old 4-wing musket cap there. Let's go over here. We're gonna start shooting, since this is hard cast lead, traveling at such a pretty good speed, big bullet, we're gonna shoot our main target here. This is actually AR 500 steel. She rings the steel, guys. A lot of people talk about how inhumane doctors and things were during the Civil War. Well, they may not have been shooting that hot of a load, but could you imagine that big 58 caliber mini ball, heavy mini ball, coming crashing through your bones, you know, and your leg hit you in the knee or something? What else were they gonna do? There was no way, with the devastation like you guys just saw, that hitting a human body, they could patch up a fractured femur or something like that if the bullet went through. They had to amputate. There was no way they could put you back together after something like that hit you. I don't know if they could put you back together very good today after something like that hit you. So a lot of people give doctors back then a bad rap because of all the amputations going on. They had to move on to the next guy generally, and to be honest, there just wasn't much they could do with something that big and that heavy hit you that hard. Grant you, today's 30 caliber bullets are moving a lot faster, but at the same time, that's just earth-shattering, bone-crushing power right there. That was at 20 yards. So anyway, let's load her up again and see if we can hit one of those little water bottles. All right, guys, now these are not very fine sights. That's my excuse to start with. Let's see if we can bust a water bottle. 110 grains, 58 caliber mini ball. I think we got it.
You just took the top off.
That's what I aim to do. Actually, like I said, guys, this is shooting high. I aimed right in the middle. Look at that. Took the top right off. All right, Caleb's loading her up. He's got 110 grains. She's getting a little sticky here. Well, it might have been my hands were slick. That's about right. He is gonna go for water bottle number 2. Remember, at least for me, it shoots about 3 inches high, 4 inches maybe. Don't forget to flip your sights down. Water bottle. He's gonna shoot from here, guys. I'm gonna go he's gonna put it on safety first, point it up there. I'm gonna go set the GoPro up next to the water bottle so we can see what happens.
If I hit it.
If he hits it. I think you got her. The lid just now came down. There's our water bottle with one shot of 58 caliber mini ball. I tell you what, in the Civil War, they weren't messing around. Ready? All right, Caleb, give us another one. 110 grains. Shoots high, remember? Well, didn't shoot too high there. You rocked that plate's world. What are your thoughts on the Zouave rifle now that we've gone through years and years of heartache?
It's fun.
Now that it actually runs. Didn't knock it off, but you knocked it around. Hey, open that patch box right quick. I haven't looked in there. What we got in there? Oh yeah, that came with it. That's a spare nipple. It's
got a smaller hole in it.
got a smaller hole, yeah.
He's trying a 40 grain charge.
40 grains. That's usually, I have a On my flintlock rig here, I have a 110 because that's what I shoot my round ball with out of my Northwest trade gun, or Fowlers. Usually like around 110, sometimes even with shot, it works pretty good with 110. But for my pistols, I usually load 40, and I have a 40 grain measure here. And so, I don't know if our beef tallow is doing the job today, guys. It's getting harder and harder to load, but it's also because it's like 104 out here. So, it's getting hard to load fast. Usually Swiss will give you about 30 shots before things get tight, in my opinion. But that one's loading pretty good. When you hear it go tink, that means you're on the bottom. All right, you don't want any air gap between that mini ball and that big, well, it's not a big powder charge this time, but you still don't want an air gap. The hole is fairly big in there for the flash charge to get through, and so if you load it with the cap off and the hammer on half cock, and you pour that powder down there, a lot of times the powder will trickle right into the bolster there. This gun you can actually cap half cock too, so a lot of times you can't do that. Let's set that. All right, 40 grains. What's your thought, Caleb?
Kill that little target.
Let's put it on the, okay, little target. Still hits pretty hard with 40 grains, but didn't kick that hard. I will show you guys, this is what happens to left-handed shooters shooting these big cap locks, especially the 4-wings. It will burn the living daylights out of your right wrist. Speaking of which, since I'm tired of getting my hand burned, I do have my Northwest trade gun out here. We just did a video on this not long ago. Well, the video was started 2 years ago, finished about a year ago, and just now got turned out because I didn't like the lighting on it, but we did turn it out just so we'd have it out. There we go, 110 grains of that. Now, and we're ready to go. Now, like a lot of times on this channel, you'll see us use a wasp nest, and I would do that, but I was actually planning on using some shot in this gun today, so I did not use wasp nest. All right, Caleb, come over here on this side. I want to show you guys how flint locks can be better for lefties than cap locks. It's pretty good. Did not burn my hand one little bit. But like I said, the pan here, when I'm holding it, actually guards against that, guards all that flash from hitting my wrist. Now, I'll show you one more time here on this Zouave Rifle 1863 contract. See how that cap sits on there? You can see where it burns my wrist all the way around there, being left-handed. Now I could reach further out, but that's not comfortable to me. I'd rather take a little bit of cap burn and be comfortable. All right, guys, I keep calling that the 30-yard gong, but I forgot I moved the table back about 15 yards, so it's more like 45 from here. Let's see if this is the 40 grain charge again, seeing as I like that last little pleasant one so much. Let's go 45 yards uphill to the gong. Just like that. Well, tell you what, guys, our beef tallow lube isn't working too good today because it's so hot, it's melting right off, and we're about, I'd say we got about 30 shots out of this thing with the Swiss. That's one thing you'll learn about Swiss if you shoot this thing enough. It's a cleaner burning powder, it doesn't fire your gun out so fast. I think we got about 30 shots with that Swiss 2F in there. So anyway, that is the Remington 63 contract rifle, or the Zouave gun. You know, a lot of history out there on these if you want to take the time to look around. This is the replica arms reproduction, and like I said before, guys, unless you want to do some work on it, I don't necessarily recommend the replica arms reproduction, because like I said, broken springs, missing springs, hammer not aligned, had to do some real metal work to heat up and bend that hammer back into a line. After we got this gun working, this is a sweet shooter, outside of burning my wrist to death because I'm left-handed. Anyway, enough said. Trust in God, keep your powder dry. Bye.